by not worrying about the success, it's making me successful.
It looks something like this.
Welcome to another episode of the BTS Business Podcast. I'm your host, Frank, and today we have our special guest who's been in the Army for 7 years, has been stationed all around the world. He streams on Twitch for video games, and he's recently been blown up on YouTube. He goes by Fracno. So this is our first time doing a remote podcast. So Franco is actually in Seattle right now, correct? Or around Seattle? Where are you at?
Pretty close to Seattle, like an hour south of Seattle.
Cool. And you recently started a YouTube channel, which I want to talk to you about today, that's been recently blown up. It's about a specific niche. So you solve, basically you help gamers with their pains. Can you tell us a little bit more about your story with that and how you got started with that?
Yeah, so like you said earlier, I stream on Twitch, and I've been doing it for a little while, and I was trying to find a way to grow my audience on Twitch. And so when you do that, it's hard to grow on Twitch naturally or organically. So what most people do is they start a community somewhere else, or they build a following somewhere else, and then they bring that following over to Twitch. For me, I thought that it would be a good idea to start a YouTube channel. So I started brainstorming ideas on what I wanted to do this YouTube channel on. And I kind of came across this idea where I combined my hobby and my job as a physical therapy tech in the Army. So when I combined those two things, I thought I had something pretty special, because when I did my research on YouTube, there wasn't really a lot of representation in that area. And what started as a way just to bring people over to my Twitch, I grew into a passion, because I really identified with this idea that I had come up with. And so I started to really put everything into it. And, the YouTube channel is a result of that. So,
But your YouTube is grown pretty impressively compared to your Twitch. Which one's grown more fast, would you say?
way like above and beyond. The YouTube has grown much faster than the Twitch channel, but I think that's kind of that's natural for those two platforms. So Twitch doesn't have any sort of like discoverability in the same way that YouTube does, right? It's so easy to go down this YouTube rabbit hole where you just like keep watching video after video after video, and YouTube does a really good job of promoting different videos depending on what you might be interested. Whereas Twitch, you either have to know the person or you're searching for a game, and if you're the streamer, you have to hope that you're playing that game and you're like up at the top of the page of people who are streaming it. But the way to do that is to have a lot of viewers, and so it's kind of like it's really hard to grow on Twitch.
How long have you been watching streamers on Twitch before you actually started streaming? Do you think that, and the reason I'm asking that, I'm sorry to cut you off,
No, yeah.
is because do you think that Twitch is gonna have you noticed it slowly changing their interface to be more friendly for discovery?
They talk about doing that. I don't know that they're there yet. I didn't watch a lot of Twitch before, so it was something that I kind of just started doing on a whim, and I thought it was fun. And then as I did it more and more, and I saw results from it, I saw I was having a lot of fun with it, I just kind of dove into it.
You're obviously growing pretty fast on YouTube. Why do you feel like you are growing pretty fast, and what would your advice be to other YouTubers who are starting out?
I think that I saw growth on YouTube quickly because I just did a ton of research beforehand. This YouTube channel didn't start by accident, right? So I've been thinking about this idea for the last at least 6 months before I started the actual channel. I had been thinking about it. I've been thinking about every way I wanted to do it. I watch an obsessive amount of YouTube as well. So that would be one of my advices to someone starting out. Know the website, know what's out there, know the trends, know the styles that people have, know what you do like in your favorite YouTubers and what you really don't like, and try and combine those things. So I watched a ton of YouTube. I did a bunch of research on the best ways to grow on YouTube, right? So I watched channels on how to do good looking video, how to edit. I watched channels on how to optimize search engine optimization, to get your videos out there and coming up.
Do you mind sharing a few of those channels with us? Like any specific YouTubers?
So when it comes to video, I watch a lot of Potato Jet, Peter McKinnon, and Matty Hapoya, right? So
Nice.
they're more of the photography,
The big three.
videography side. Yeah, so it's no secret, right? They're really good at what they do. I watch their channels. I follow their tutorials. I look at what equipment they're using. Every one of those YouTubers lists the equipment that they're using and how they're getting the look that you're seeing that you like, you know? And so I just committed myself to like searching out that equipment and buying it and investing in this idea. And then Nick Nimmin is a YouTuber that does a lot of like how to grow on YouTube kind of stuff. And so I watched a lot of his videos and put a lot of those approaches into action, right? So really trying to optimize.
What are some
my
of the things
videos.
that he talks about? for the
Nick
people who
Nimmin?
haven't, you know.
So there are things that I didn't really think about before actually doing the channel, right? So aside from the obvious things like have a catchy title, have a good looking thumbnail, right? Those are the two biggest things. Doing a lot of research on the topic that you want to cover, right? So going to YouTube and just starting a search for the idea that you have and seeing what pops up in those suggested searches, right? And then playing off of that and going down that rabbit hole to see what people are searching for. And then looking at the tags and what's trending, or, you know, like there's a program that you can download called TubeBuddy that allows you to look at the stats of other videos and see what tags they're using, how high they're ranking in the searches for those tags.
Is that a free one? Or?
Yeah, so TubeBuddy is free, but they have paid versions of it that give you more features. But the free version is good enough to get started, right? So it allows you to do research on the other videos that are already out there, right? And I just spend an obsessive amount of time looking at all these things and trying to figure out what people are searching for around the topic that I'm covering. And then I try to target my titles and my thumbnails and my content for what people are already searching for. And then that kind of brings me to the next point, right? So if there's a bunch of videos out there that are kind of covering what you're doing, you need to stand out, right? You can't just make another stretch video. You can't just make a video of you stretching. I tried to focus my content for gamers, when in reality, you know, these stretches are helpful for anyone who's at a desk, but I want to target my content towards a community that's underserved in this topic right now, right? So I target it, I come up with a niche, I target it towards a specific audience, and then I try to stand out from what's already there. So whether that be video quality or how I show the stretches or the style of presentation, things like that, I try to make it so that if someone if they had two stretch videos side by side, they're going to pick mine because I'm doing something different, or I'm more relatable, or I'm funnier, or, you know, just any number of things that set me apart from who's out there right now. Because stretch videos aren't exactly known for being cinematic or known for being particularly engaging.
Although you do a pretty good job
funny.
of making it look pretty good.
I try. So that's what I tried to bring to the table that was separate, right? So I was watching a lot of stretch videos on YouTube, and they were doing this thing where, all right, now you're going to stretch your hand for 30 seconds. And they literally hold it for 30 seconds. And like, there's a countdown timer in the corner, and then release, you know, and that's a good video if you want to follow along every day, right? And I'm actually thinking about doing videos like that so that people can follow along. But if you're learning how to do something, do you really want to sit through someone stretching real time for 30 seconds, you know? And so I tried to see how I could bring my flavor to that, right? And I came up with the idea of doing B-roll shots for stretches, making it kind of like enjoyable to watch while you're also learning. So
yeah, it's what people want to see nowadays. Not a lot of people want to see the just straight one cut videos.
Yeah.
They want to see little detail shots.
Right.
They want to see color.
Exactly.
They want to see,
you have to grab their
music.
attention, and it's just boring. I don't know. Like what I felt was what was already on YouTube for this style of video was boring. No offense to people who are doing it. Obviously, some of them are very successful, but I didn't want to watch it. So I wanted to make videos that I wanted to watch. So
Especially for gamers too, because gamers already have their dopamine receptors just flooded with awesome graphics and all these cool video games.
Right.
Like, do they really want to sit here and just watch like you're saying, just a one long cut video on stretching, when they could watch another gamer who's doing it, you know, who can tailor it exactly specific. And I think that's the real lesson to be learned here, is that, you know your audience. You know, before you start a channel, really know how they interact. You know, maybe if they're an older audience, it's okay to do some of those kind of boring style videos. But if you have a younger audience, then you definitely want to consider doing like more quicker cuts and keeping things more engaged. But also, the lesson is really like niching down in your audience, because I think a lot of people are going to start a YouTube channel nowadays and have their niche too broad, but your niche is very specific. You're solving a specific problem for a specific audience. And because of that, now you're instantly positioned as an expert in that niche, even if you have very few videos on there. And the videos you do have are really good quality, like we were saying. And because of that, it kind of just doubles and makes you look just extra good. And that's why I think you're very successful, is because not only have you hit such a specific niche, but you're doing it with such great quality. So good job, man. Keep up the hard work.
Thanks, man.
And that kind of transitions me into my next question too, which is, we talked about this with one of the previous guests. He was also a YouTuber. His niche was different, but I asked him, hey, do you think for the people who are watching, they want to know, is gear important, the type of camera that you use? And I know this is very subjective, so I'm not expecting a specific answer from you. But his answer was no. He shoots with a phone, and he has over 400,000 subscribers. But then you look at other YouTubers out there, and they shoot with like high quality gear. Like, he is in kind of an overlapping niche with MKBHD, who shoots with an 8K camera, you know. But the way he's targeting that niche is unnecessary for him to shoot with that quality. So how do you feel about when it comes to camera gear for your niche specifically?
So for mine, for the content that I make, no, it's not necessary, right? But it is it's definitely something that sets me apart, right? So if you go online and you look at the people who are doing similar content to mine, that's going to be the biggest difference, right? So immediately, if you're used to the other content that's available, when you watch my video, immediately you see that the content is much higher, or that the quality is much higher. Is it necessary? No, but does it help me stand out? Absolutely. And even outside of the type of content that I make, I still don't think that it's necessary, but it does help. All right. So people are, like you said, the YouTuber that you spoke with prior is, he's got tons of subscribers and he records with the phone, and that works. And I'm curious, if probably he started off with the phone, but I think starting out now, when so much of the content that's available on YouTube is at this, this bar. The bar has been raised. You're coming, if you came into YouTube a long time ago, the bar was way down here. Now that you're coming in, people are established, people have money, people are investing into their quality, and the bar has moved up here. And this is the overall standard, of popular YouTubers. So if you come in with lower standard, or, like lower quality than that, is it possible to still grow and break out and be successful? For sure. But is it going to be noticeable that your quality is lower? Yeah, I think it is. And a lot of the YouTubers that I watch that I mentioned earlier, they all preach this: the gear doesn't matter. It's the content, it's the story, it's your passion. So just start making videos and the gear will come and the quality will come. And I think that there's some merit to that, but I didn't go that route. One of the biggest reasons why I didn't start my YouTube channel sooner is because I was waiting to kind of like amass the gear that I thought that I needed to start off, right? And I could have started earlier and I could have made lower quality videos and maybe I would have been just as successful. But just for me, I get kind of nerdy about the gear. And so I wanted to start right out the gate with like professional looking videos. And the fact that I received tons of comments about, holy crap, like these are your first videos, they look so good.
Yeah, they do.
Right.
I'd say it's paid off.
it's noticeable. It's not something that I needed, but it is something that is going, it's not going unnoticed. And I think that it helps people take me more seriously because it looks like I'm taking it more serious, And I think people notice it. I think people appreciate it, and I'm glad that I did it this way. But I wouldn't advise people that they need to do it this way. But if they do, I think their audience is going to notice that they took the time or that they invested into this, and I think that in return builds trust. Because if you just came to the channel and it just looks like I'm recording on my phone and some stretches, yeah, you might watch, but you're not going to get that impression that, hey, I'm very serious about this and I'm here to stay, because if I don't, then my wife's going to be super mad that I bought all these expensive cameras and didn't use them.
Definitely. So you knew your situation, and I think that's like a big part of this lesson is, know your situation. You've been in the Army for about 7 years, so I mean, you're making decent money. You could afford to pay for the gear. Also, the gear is part of your passion. It's something you're interested in too. So it was kind of more than just for your YouTube channel. It was more of like a personal thing as well. But yeah, I think it's paid off, man. Your channel definitely stands above the rest. So good on you. I want to shift gears a little bit. Mm-hmm. And talk about more the gaming stuff personally. So, who is your favorite YouTube gamer right now?
So, I don't watch a ton of gaming YouTube, right? So, I guess if you had to fall in that category, I don't know if PewDiePie is still considered a gaming YouTube channel. Obviously, I mean, he tags his videos and he puts his videos in that genre, right? So I guess technically he would be considered a gaming channel. And before he took his break most recently, I've watched him every day. I even have like a shaker cup by him. So I really enjoy his content. I really think he's funny. I think he gets a bad rap for a lot of his prior mistakes. But when you watch his content regularly, you get these kind of like moments where he's not putting on this like character that people know him by, and you get some more intimate, or like you get to see inside his head a little bit more. And I really think that he's got an interesting way of thinking about things. So if I had to say gaming channel, he is, and he's super intelligent too, which I don't think he gets credit for. He does videos that aren't really his norm, where he does like book reviews, or he does these kind of video like dissertations where he kind of goes into a topic. Like he did one about social media and Twitter and like the culture around that. And so those videos really give you an idea that he's more than just screaming at horror games and laughing at memes. So I really enjoy his content. But I would say when I sit down to the computer and watch YouTube, I'm watching more video and photography stuff. I'm watching YouTube stuff. I watch a lot of Joe Rogan. I don't watch as much gaming YouTube as you might think for having a channel based around gaming.
Okay, yeah.
I do watch a lot of streams. So I do watch a lot of streams on Twitch. As I've grown, my like passion for Twitch has grown. I like to support Twitch channels. So when I'm watching gaming content, it's usually on Twitch, and I like to support streamers. I like to be a part of the community, because I think that if you're in the community that you're trying to be a part of, well, then you're so much more relatable, and you don't feel like an outsider who's just trying to cash in on that trend.
So what game are you playing the most right now?
I don't play a specific game the most. I would say if I had to say what game I'm playing the most, it'd be horror games, right? So
Horror games, okay.
So my wife streams with me on Twitch.
You ever play that on VR?
It's funny you say that. So I used to have a PlayStation VR, and I played some horror games, but nothing too intense, right? And it was really fun, and I thought that it was a much more immersive experience. And I sold the PlayStation VR, and now that's on the list of things I want to buy is another VR headset for the PC this time. Excuse me. And I really want to. So I play a ton of horror games. I think horror games kind of like made my channel a little more popular on Twitch when I started doing horror games because they're just fun to watch. And then over time, I became less and less scared of them, and like I stopped
that tolerance, man.
Yeah, I know. I built up that horror tolerance, which is, it's nice because you don't get as scared, but it's kind of a bummer because I like feeling that way, because it's like a really raw emotional reaction when you get scared to a video game.
Especially in VR.
Right. So you don't get that feeling as much through games like Call of Duty or you know, like Red Dead Redemption, you know, that like really primal fear. And I think it's cool. And so I stopped feeling that way. So I started streaming with my wife because she's so scared of anything horror related. Like she can't even watch horror movie trailers. And so she, for some reason, I guess she just wanted to support and do something with me. She started sitting next to me on my streams and playing these games with me. And she has like the most hilarious reactions. And so it's like I'm like experiencing that feeling through her, like, and that's nice. So I sit here and play the game, and then she sits next to me and has all the scared reactions. And so we play a lot of horror games together. And so I would say that that's the genre that I play the most. I want to do VR because I feel like it's going to give me that feeling again. It's like I'm chasing that high again. And so I think VR will be the next step for me for playing games. But I'd say I play a lot of horror. I play a lot of Call of Duty with my friends. That's like my multiplayer game of choice, Modern Warfare. So if I want to play with friends, that's usually what I load up. And then really I like just going through indie games and seeing, you know, these like smaller games that aren't as popular, but reviewed really highly by the people who do play them. So I like to keep a good mix of things. I don't think it's one game that I play more than the others.
Okay, nice. Okay, horror games. Was not expecting that. No, I'm just kidding.
Really?
No, I'm just joking around. I honestly forget about horror games. I don't even like know how big that like niche is.
I don't think they're
industry.
super popular because, I mean, there are some games that are truly, truly terrifying.
There's this one game one of my coworkers was telling me about where you keep going deeper, like underground, and you have to like find like different chambers and unlock them, and then like zombies will start chasing you. I don't know if you've heard of that game.
Sounds like The Forest.
The Forest?
It sounds like The Forest, yeah.
It could be that one. I'm trying to remember. It kind of had a funky name though.
It's funny because I've played so many of them, but
they probably like some of them are sampling off of other games. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so what kind of, you know, innovations you may have heard of, if there are any, that are in the gaming space or the YouTube space that are maybe like, oh, there's new like invention that came out for, I don't know, is there anything that's new in the industry that you may have news on that you would want to share with people?
I mean, you kind of touched on it earlier. I think VR, even though VR is super...
But what about, because I mean, we know what VR is, but is there anything like any new excitements about VR that people should be aware of?
I think the new excitement about VR, there's a couple of things that I think are that they're innovating or that they're improving on, right? So I think they're improving on the overall experience, because if you've used the VR, have you used the VR headset?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that kind of like screen door effect where the screen isn't quite like as clear as you're used to, and it almost looks like you're looking through a screen door. Did you experience that at all?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're improving on that. They're improving on the resolution of the headset screens, and they're improving on the refresh rate and the frame rate capabilities of VR. Because the problem that I had with the PlayStation VR, as good as it is, especially for the price, it made me super sick after using it a lot. Like I got super obsessive about it, and I think the first night I played till like 7 a.m. And I think I overdid it, and it started giving me really bad like motion sickness. And part of that is the refresh rate and the frame rate and that like not quite clear, you know, screen, and that just slightly out of focus thing that your eye, it's like you don't notice it. You don't like fully notice it, but your brain definitely does. And so I think that they're improving that, right? So the overall experience is getting better. And then I'm interested to see what they do because it seems like they're starting to make VR headsets that don't need to be connected by a bunch of cables to whatever you're
Actually,
connected
that
to.
was the one I used last week.
Okay, so then yeah, I think that's going to improve too, so that you don't need to feel tethered, and then that kind of opens up the spectrum or like it opens up the market to like physical experiences combined with VR. So being able to walk through an environment maybe, or being a little freer to move around. I think
Do
those
you
are.
have any rumors on like Ready Gamer 1 suits or anything like that?
No, I hope so. I hope so. And the reason why I'm interested in VR is because it's one of the few ways that video games can be like physical, right? And if my content is based around video games and health, right? So fitness is definitely a part of that. I think, the Nintendo Wii and stuff like that tries to do it with exercise games, but I think VR has the potential to really combine fitness in a fun way with gaming, right? Mm-hmm. So being able to move around, that's the biggest thing when it comes to gaming and fitness, right? Everyone has this like stereotype of like, well, why don't you get up and exercise, or why don't you get up and move? Well, with VR you can do both, right? So I think that's a really cool thing. And then as far as just in the like spectrum of outside of just that small, like fitness and health, I think there are new innovations in graphics cards that are going to make streaming a lot more interesting. So the new graphics cards, they're coming out with these things where you can do like a green screen effect, but without needing a green screen behind you. So it like picks up, it's able to just, I don't really fully understand it, but it's able to pick you up and separate you from the background without having a green screen. And then it's also able to put effects onto your video, almost like if you wanted your face to look like a dog or something like that, like mm-hmm. there's like they're working on things that are going to improve the streaming experience just in your graphics card without needing, other products or devices.
Are there any inventions that you've ever thought of that
I've thought of
implement in the gaming or YouTube industry? I mean,
I don't know that I've
really.
Yeah, I don't think I've like invented things, but as I think about my content on YouTube, and part of that is like branding, right? Part of it is brand deals and like ways that you can work with companies that already exist that probably haven't considered the gaming community, right? So, if just off the top of my head, like a yoga mat, right? Yoga mats are pretty common in fitness, and if you do any sort of stretching or exercising, like maybe you've seen a yoga mat or purchased a yoga mat, they're usually like solid colors. I think that if I am bringing, like let's say I did a video where, I linked to a yoga mat, or, you're going to do these videos or you're going to do these stretches or exercises that helps to have a yoga mat. Here's one that I recommend. If I could work with companies to make things that are branded towards gamers, like something, yoga mats have floral prints on it because of the consumers that usually buy them. But what if it had something gaming related on it? It's not necessary, but if you were a gamer and you were looking to buy something like that, maybe you would be more inclined to purchase something that was branded with things that you like. I don't know, or like on the simple end of that, it could be something like Kinesio tape that has, like your favorite eSports team's logo on it. On the more ridiculous end that I think would be funny, like a foam roller with RGB lights. You know what I mean? Just like ridiculous things that if you're going to buy it anyway, might as well buy something that you like the look of. And so those are ideas that I kind of throw around in my head as I get larger, gain more, gain more authority on the subject or gain more popularity in that field, that maybe I can start to influence these companies that, a foam roller company probably never considered gaming as like as a market to like aim their products towards, but maybe I can be that middleman, that bridge to be like, hey, I've got this YouTube channel, it's focused towards gaming and fitness. Like, you have a product that I'm trying to recommend. It'd be cool if we can collaborate and do something that was more gamer centric that people would feel more inclined to purchase.
Yeah, so you're showing that, you're kind of filling that gap in the niche
Yeah.
where
Yeah, exactly.
not a lot of people are, and now because you are solving that problem, you have that position, that expertise to be able to, whenever you do get a sponsorship deal with a company, you can have them tailor it more towards your audience because, it will sell more, not for the money,
Right.
but because, it's going to solve that problem that they like, so they're actually enjoying the product. Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about like sponsors and like getting sponsors? Have you been reached out by anybody? Have you reached out to anybody? I know you're still kind of early in the YouTube.
Yeah,
but like you're getting good views. So how's that going for you?
I haven't yet, right? I haven't yet because like I'm focusing more on the content, and so it's interesting because I do the streaming and the YouTube channel, what some people would probably consider full time, right? So I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I edit video Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm even starting to do it on Wednesday as part of my stream, right? So I started streaming video editing, and that's been really popular. And it's funny because people like it, but it's got a dual purpose because I get to mark off like my streaming day, but then I also get an extra day to edit. And then I film Saturday and Sunday. So every single day I'm working on content in some capacity. But I have a job, and it's a full-time job, Monday through Friday. So I don't need to make money off of these platforms. It would be nice, and it is my goal to eventually, make this something that I can do maybe as a career. But starting out, I don't have that need to make this successful. And I think by not worrying about the success, it's making me successful.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the misconceptions of the gaming industry a little bit more. So you talked about it earlier, but what are those misconceptions?
I think people have this idea that gamers are just one type of person, right? So in your mind, you have this idea of like a nerd, or like someone who's really physically unfit, who doesn't ever go outside, who just like, just this stereotype. And maybe at some point in history of gaming, like that was kind of the general type of person who was associated with gaming. But I think gaming has grown to be this like massive industry, right? It is not just like this small thing that a few people do. It's something that everybody from all walks of life, every style of person, is playing video games these days. That doesn't mean that they have to be the type that like sits in their mom's basement for hours and hours, but athletes play video games. Women play video games, children play video games, like nerdy guys and jocks, it's like there is no one type of person that plays video games. And so to lump them all into this, the word gamer has become almost like a meme or an insult, right? And I don't think that it has to be. And I don't think that just because you have pain while you're gaming, it means that you never go outside or that you need to do more exercise. It just happens. Everyone's a little different, and sitting in a chair may cause pain, and doing a lot of something all the time, doesn't mean that you're not doing other things as well. And so with this channel, I try not to play into that stereotype. I try to treat people like they're just people who are doing something they enjoy doing, and not like they are the stereotypical gamer that people think of. So I think it's
Nice.
It's unhealthy, and it's not productive, and you miss out on like connecting with people when you just lump them into that stereotype.
I agree. So speaking of your niche, it's very specific. So how much content do you think you could create in that field before you start running out of ideas? And what's your plan for creating more content?
So it's something I think about all the time, right? I have a note, like I keep notes in my phone, and every time I come up with any sort of idea, even if it's dumb, if it's outrageous, I just write it down in that note, right? And I just have a list, and I'm trying to make that list longer and longer. And I try to write it down as soon as I have it, because there's nothing worse than having a great idea, and then you're like, oh, I'll expand on that tomorrow morning, and then you wake up and you're like, oh no, what was it? Reading comments is really helpful, right? Because your audience is telling you what they want to see, you know? And already I've read comments where I was like, yeah, I was working on that already. Nice. But I definitely didn't think about it, and I was like, with your audience. That is a fantastic idea. So I think going to your comments and listening to your audience is a good way to come up with ideas, because you know, they're going to tell you what they want to see, and probably if they're telling you what they want to see, it's because you haven't done it already. So it's a free idea, right?
And that's not a bad thing, because you're the first to do it the way you did it. So forever, your content will be continually getting watched for those future gamers out there as well.
I think also as you build an audience, and they get to know you for, you know, and they create a connection with you, you have a little more leeway to stray off the path that you were on to get bigger, right? So like, we talk about Peter McKinnon, for example, right? Peter McKinnon started with a very specific topic, right? Camera tutorials, camera-centric videos, how to do these things. But as he grew an audience that connected with him, they don't really care as much about the content anymore. They want to see him. And so he has the freedom to do a video about wallets. He has the freedom to do a video about coffee, you know, because the audience...
Yeah.
That
even made a video about that,
right?
About him switching gears. Mm-hmm.
So that initial idea brought them to, or, you know, like that initial topic brought them to the channel. But this is something I believe in, right? So your content and your information and what you are providing, that niche that you're talking about, brings people to your channel. But you are the person that keeps them there, right? They don't keep coming back because they're just super interested about that topic. Maybe they do, you know, they probably do to an extent, but you are the person, your personality is what keeps them coming back and creates loyal followers, right? So that's why when I create videos, I could just start a video and be like, here's some stretches you can do. And I go straight into stretching. And some people really, really want to see that. And it's frustrating because I see comments on my videos that are like, oh, skip to 245 for the real video. Right?
There's always going to be those people.
There is.
And you know what's funny is I actually saw a comment on your channel saying the opposite, that you were not too talkative and you did kind of get straight to the point. So I was seeing a little bit of the opposite as well, that people are appreciating you kind of doing it the way you're doing. Because you do explain what you're doing.
Right.
You have a little backstory to it, but you don't go into it too much.
So there needs to be context for the purpose of the video. But at the same time, if I just create a video that is just like, here's some stretches, then it becomes transactional, right? So people come to the video to get what they need, and then they peace out. They don't have any reason to stop at my channel. They have no reason to subscribe. They have no reason to stick around, because they didn't develop any sort of relationship with me. They just came for what they needed and they peaced out. And there's always going to be people like that. But I try to create a relationship with my viewers by giving just enough context and just enough personality where they're like, I kind of like this guy, you know, like, oh, I like this guy's way of thinking. I want to come back to this. And I think that's important to growing a channel, right? They need to like you. They need to want to see more of what you're doing. So I think as my channel grows, the more it grows, the more leeway I'll have to make videos that aren't so focused on my niche. And that'll allow me to expand the channel, and it'll hopefully combat this problem of running out of ideas.
So I don't know if you've heard, but the Navy has started getting in with eSports. Can you talk a little bit more about what you know about that?
So I didn't know about the Navy one, but I know that the Army started an eSports team as a recruitment tool. And I think it's really cool. I think it's really interesting. It shows like a bit of self-awareness, right? That like the military can be kind of like, how do I say this? They're like stuck in their way of thinking, right? They don't really accept new ideas sometimes. And I think that culture is changing, right? So they're willing to admit, or they're willing to acknowledge the presence of this industry. And so I think it's really cool that they're starting that team. And I think it's smart. Did you know that in terms of esports, League of Legends tournaments have surpassed viewership of the Super Bowl before?
Oh, wow.
So more people have watched a League of Legends tournament than there were people watching the Super Bowl. That's nuts, right? I didn't know that until kind of recently. So
and we're shooting this on the Super Bowl day.
I know, right? So it makes sense, right? It's a huge untapped market for the military, and it's interesting that they would use it as a recruitment tool, because I'm not sure, if you're super into gaming, I don't know how they connect those two things, like, hey, you like gaming,
I play, but I'm not sure how they connected.
Why don't you come be a cook in the Army? So I don't really know how they're connecting it, but I do know that it exists. Someone at my clinic right now is actually part of the team, and he told me that they communicate mostly digitally, and then when they have tournaments, they send people TDY to these tournaments to compete and represent the Army. So I guess
that's cool.
That's
kind of how they get them,
right? So it puts the Army in the eyes of
join
these
the Army,
people.
play video games.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think it's interesting.
I don't think the nation wants to hear that, but I think that the kids joining would.
At least it shows an awareness, and at least it shows that they're paying attention to what people care about.
There is PTSD therapy with video games, though. So
probably, yeah. I think it's a good idea. I think it's interesting, and I actually considered doing a video about that. In Fort Knox, they have their center for, it's like their hub for the esports gaming and team, and they have actually this big video game center that looks super cool. And if I ever find myself in Fort Knox, I'd definitely love to go over there and do a video about it.
So that's a future video that you're gonna start shooting. But are there any other little projects you'd want to share with us that you're working on right now? And where can people find you? What's your IG handle and stuff like that as well?
So I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like I already said. That's over on Twitch under the name Fracno, which is the same name as my YouTube channel. And on my YouTube channel, I try not to be too in your face about it, but I promote all my other social media accounts. So I'm on Twitter and Instagram under L_Fracno. It's annoying that I had to use a different name, but Fracno.tv is a website I created where instead of doing this, where I'm like, well, on this channel you can find me here, and on this channel you can, Fracno.tv has links to everything. And then as far as projects that I'm working on, I've been researching and working on this energy drink video for a long time. And I'm doing a video right now where I explain what is inside of energy drinks, and are they good for you? Are they bad for you? Trying to dispel cut through the fog of energy drinks a bit, because I think just like anything, people don't know what the hell they're talking about. And they just regurgitate what they've heard other people say and what they think is right. So I want to put the information out there, and then also talk about my personal favorite energy drinks as far as gamer energy drinks, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are gamer energy drinks that are out there. And so I want to educate people on topics like that. So I think that video is going to be huge, 20 minutes huge. I'm actually kind of scared that it's too long.
Awesome. Good stuff, Frank. Really looking forward to seeing that video. Cool, man. Well, it was nice talking with you. Maybe we'll have another little fireside chat in the future, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll catch up.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show.
It's awesome talking to you again.
Again, thanks for watching. My name is Frank with BTS TV Media. Make sure to follow us for more episodes on our social media platforms, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Well, I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.